Hey all, welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and today, for you guys, I have my Ancient Gear deck. Now, if I had to pick an archetype from the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, I mean every season, every episode, every generation, I would have to say Ancient Gear monsters are my absolute favorite. I love how they look, I love how they work, I just love everything about them. And I'm so happy that they're getting more support now, and this is the forefront of their support. So this includes stuff from a whole bunch of fusion monsters from the first, OG Ancient Gears from the beginning, mostly just Ancient Gear Golem there, but still, Ultimate Ancient Gear, all those guys, and just takes every single generation and just melds it into this deck that I have in front of me today. And I love playing this. I love playing this online, and honestly, if the price is right, I'll definitely be building this deck in real life. But jumping into the deck profile, this is more of a fusion OTK deck, obviously with our big bad Chaos Ancient Gear Giant over there. He is the boss monster of this deck that is just going to obliterate things. Now, I have seen some deck profiles that use that the field spell that Akita uses in 5Ds, that like Thorn Garden, I think it is, that just special summons a monster to your opponent's side of the field every time you special summon a monster. And I like that, but I just found it was not very consistent, which is not really what I want. And this, for a fusion deck, I don't know. I like running the 3 gear towns and the 3 ancient gear fortresses here. I think those kind of work out a little bit better, especially with the Foolish Burial of goods. That really helps the deck. So that's why I'm kind of running this version of deck. So let's jump in and see all my card choices here. So first off, we have Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. And this is a level 9 monster, which kinda hurts the synergy in this deck, so that's why I only run 1, but it does help a lot too. So it has an ability where you can destroy 1 spell and trap card if this card attacked, and that's awesome. So that's kind of a combo piece that you can destroy one of your opponent's monsters, maybe Pendulum Zone, but you can also blow up one of your spell cards that have a benefit when they go to the graveyard. So that's really awesome, that's a good combo piece there. It's also got some pretty awesome attack, and then if you used an Ancient Gear monster and if you used a Gadget monster, which there is a card like that in the deck, then it gains some additional effects, so that's really great. Next up, we got 3 Ancient Gear Golems. Now this is the big OG beat 'em down masterpiece of a monster here. This is my favorite. I think it might just be my favorite card in all of Duel Monsters. Honestly, I love this card. I love seeing it in the show, and I love it now too. So obviously this is just a beat stick with if it attacks, no spell and trap cards can be activated until the end of the damage step, and it obviously has piercing, so it's just a blue eyes on like steroids, man. It is just the best. Now, just for accent on the deck, I run 2 Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragons because they're level 8. They're great to be special summoned, they're great for the overlay plays, and they're great for the trade-ins. And also, because of the Ancient Gears in this deck, there's the Ancient Gear Gadget. I'm just going to jump over onto that one. We have Ancient Gear Gadget here. This can actually declare a name of a gadget monster you want. So this card, you can pick the any effect that you want. So maybe if you just need to get off a little bit more damage, or maybe if you just want some piercing on this guy, you can get it too by tributing Ancient Gear Gadget with that. And basically, one of the biggest combo pieces for the monster lineup, at least, is the Ancient Gear Wyvern. So this card I love using because you can grab your Ancient Gear box, and when that's added to your hand, you can add that Ancient Gear gadget that I was just talking about. Plus, it's a 1700 level 4, so the rank 4 plays are pretty strong in this deck, so that's really awesome. I love that. But if you do use this effect, cannot set cards for the rest of the turn, so that's just be careful with that. Use your cards wisely and in the right timing for them. And then just like every other Ancient Gear, if this card attacks, effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. Now I only run 2 of the gadgets, like I mentioned earlier. I do like them. I just kind of feel like 2 is just fine because really, you really rely on the spell cards in this deck to special summon and revive and fusion summon all these guys from your graveyard. Just having 3 Ancient Gears that are just kind of there to move stuff around, I don't think is really necessary, but I do have 1 more copy of each of them in the side deck that sometimes I feel like I need to. It all depends on the matchup I'm going against. And then we got our Ancient Gear box here, really awesome card. This added from the deck or graveyard to the hand, which happens a lot, except by drawing it, so if you draw it you can't just use its effect. You can add an Earth Machine type monster with 500 attack or defense from your deck to your hand, so obviously that's your Ancient Gear gadget there. Great combo piece there. I think it's good at 2. Like I said, I still have the 3rd one in the side deck, but right now I'm pretty happy with 2. And then moving on, we have Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. This card was way overused in the Arc 5. All the Obelisk Force used it, and obviously because it's good. It's great. But the 600 damage it deals every time it's normal summoned, that's negligible. You really don't, that isn't like its main effect. Its main effect is once per turn, you can fusion summon Ancient Gear fusion monster from your extra deck. It's a polymerization for Ancient Gears, this guy right here. And you can use it as the materials as well. So there you go, there's your combo piece. That's why I don't run any polymerizations in this deck. I do have a fusion gate in the extra deck, or in the side deck, apologies there. I don't really side it in often. I like to have cards go to the graveyard so I can use my overload fusion to banish them from the graveyard and my field to bring out our big boss monster. And as every deck needs, we got 1 Max C in it. Obviously because it's limited down to 1 now, but it just needed. It's needed for the deck. It's needed for all meta decks, because if you can draw this card in your opening hand and your opponent goes first per se, you're gonna start with maybe like 10 cards in your hand for the next turn. So that's maxi. You gotta run one, okay? Moving on to our spell lineup, which makes up the majority of the deck. We have 1 Instant Fusion. This is just to help with the rank 4 plays. Obviously bring out Elder and Norden when you need to. Obviously this card can stall. It's really good if you can get maybe Utopia out and Utopia the Lightning out, or maybe just get your Train out, or maybe even just get your Castell out. It's good, and I think Instant Fusion is really good in this deck, just to help with the combo plays for level 4. You do have a lot of level 4s residing in your graveyard if you haven't banished them already, so that's pretty great. Now here's a card that I was debating having at 3, but I only decided 2 because really you'd only add 3 just to see it more often, and we're already having some pretty great draw power. But if you can get Overload Fusion in your hand early game, you're going to be set. You're going to be set to win. I can almost promise you. And that's why I wanted to add the 3rd one. I'm not sure about it yet. I had like 60 cards in this deck for the longest time before I could realize which ones to take out. But I think Overload Fusion at 2 is just fine. Obviously you have Hunting Hound to help you out, and you have Fusion Gate if you absolutely need to toss that in your deck. But basically Overload Fusion, just use your graveyard, and it only works on dark ones, dark fusion monsters, so obviously only Ancient Gear Giant's going to get that off from here. Now I also run 2 Foolish Burials of Lungs. I've seen some people run 0, I've seen some people run 3, and I've only seen I think one other person run 2, and I run 2. I feel like 3 clogs. 1, it just doesn't really matter. 2 helps you because you want to try and get some spell and trap cards in the graveyard that you need, aka your Ancient Gear Fortress, and I think the effect still works on Gear Town. I do believe so. I have seen it work. The rulings are kind of weird. YGO Pro, YGO Pro, I guess a lot of people tell me to say it like that. YGO Pro. It does let that happen, but I've seen some rulings online that say it shouldn't happen because it says destroyed, and this does not say it's destroyed. So in the future, if Konami releases an official ruling on that I can find that everybody agrees with, this Foolish Burial of Lungs might come out, and some other cards might go in that replace this style of effect. But yeah, this is mostly just to get Gear Town in the graveyard, and Ancient Gear Fortress if you want. It does have the ability to special summon a token onto your field, which is really nice. We also run 2 trade-ins. I wanted to have this at 3, but we just don't have enough level 8s for that. And the reason I have it at 2 is because the ability Wyvern has to search for a monster. So you could actually, if you have a trade in your hand and you just have a Wyvern, you could bring out Wyvern and you could just grab an Ancient Gear Golem, and then you could trade it in for 2 more cards, which is really great. I think that's kind of why I use trade-in a lot, and I don't have any Paw Desires because I feel like if you lose some of your important cards banished, then you're going to lose the game. So I don't have any Paw Desires. This is my draw power of the deck, mostly trade-in. Now, so some of the new cards, very new spell cards right here. We have Ancient Gear Catapult. Now this is awesome. So if you control no monsters, target 1 face-up card you can destroy, like Gear Town, maybe Ancient Gear Fortress. And if you do special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summon conditions. Wow. And then if Gear Town goes, then you get another one. So just boom, 2 level 8s. 2 level 8s. Ancient Gear Golem, Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragon, boom, they're out. And then also you can banish this card from your graveyard. Target 1 face-up card you control, destroy it. So there's another way to get rid of Gear Town, which is why I run 3 Gear Towns, by the way. Just how much option there is to get that out there. And then you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear token, and this can be used as fusion summon material. So that's why this is so great. And this is why I work with more of a fusion build of this deck. I feel like that's its strongest aspect. And of course we run 3 of those. We also have one Upstart Goblin because that turns this into a 39 card deck, and really you have some damage dealing from like 600 and 400 if you really want to do it with your Gadgetron Dragon. So just giving your opponent 1,000 life points really doesn't matter, because you want to get out your boss monster and you just want to obliterate their field. So yeah, just one Upstart Goblin. Obviously we can only run one, but I always run one in most decks now, honestly. I also run 2 Terraformings. That's just to grab the Gear Towns. I think it's, some people run 3. I like to run 2. I find it kind of a dead card, and because of how many potential dead cards there are that could be in your hand, I do run a Twin Twister in the main deck. So Twin Twister in the main deck, just to discard some cards that really aren't necessary, and then you can kind of blow up your own field if you really want as well. Limiter removal just for that OTK potential. Double the attack of all face-up monsters, machine-type monsters you control. Boom! That's crazy. That's power. That's really powerful, especially with piercing damage. Limiter removal, I'd run 3 of these if it wasn't stuck at 1. For this deck especially. I also run 3 Ancient Gear Fortresses. Obviously that's the new card. It's just like Gear Town in the sense that if it goes to the graveyard, you can special summon another monster. It's great. Just remember, it has to be from your hand or your graveyard, not from your deck. So that's kind of the thing, and that's why I also have a Foolish Burial in the side deck that I kind of toss in and out depending on Twin Twister. If I'm finding a deck that maybe like this is the Dino deck maybe, I would toss in Foolish Burial to kind of help out, because you don't really need to blow up as much back row. I do have one Twin Twister just for the dead cards, like I said, but it's not really a necessity in today's meta as much. It's good to keep in your side decks, because you're going to fight some decks that need the back row to be taken out if you want to have a chance of winning. But that's kind of the slot that Foolish Burial tosses in and out, just so you can get Ancient Gear Golem in the graveyard. And then of course, like I mentioned earlier, it has the special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your hand or graveyard. But if you do use this effect, just heads up, you cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn except Ancient Gear monsters, so just be aware of that. You can't go into some ranked plays because none of them are Ancient Gear monsters, so just be aware of that. And of course we have the 3 Gear Towns I've been mentioning throughout the entire deck profile. It's just great. Even if you have this on the field, you could bring out Golem and your Gadgetron Dragon and everything else a lot easier with only 1 monster on the field, and your ability to sacrifice isn't really hindered at all throughout this deck, because you can even bring back just like 1 monster, and that's super helpful. I do run 1 Ancient Gear Reborn. This is nice. This is great to special summon some monsters back when you need it. The trap card lineup in this deck is definitely weak. You don't really rely on them. But one thing I do have that I haven't seen many people have, I think I've only seen one other person have this, is Skill Drain. So the big boss monsters of this deck aren't affected by spell and trap cards. So you can play Skill Drain, everybody else on the field loses their abilities, but you keep yours. So Ancient Gear Giant, boom, it's wrecking face. It doesn't have a reduction on its ability at all, but everybody else does. So Skill Drain, I definitely would run this copy for sure. So that completes our main deck. Let's move on to our extra decks. So I only run 2 Chaos Giant, and I think it's totally good at 2. I don't really see myself going into more than 2 of these throughout the game if I have to. Now moving on to our extra deck, I run 2 Ancient Gear Giants. Now I think these are perfectly fine at 2. I would definitely run 2. That's what most people run, I think. 1, not enough. You want to have a backup one, and 3, too much. You're losing a slot in your extra deck, and that's not good. I honestly might take out 1 Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, but it's fairly easy to summon out if you can move stuff to your hand easy enough. So I do have 2 of these. Plus, it just falls in the same category as every other Ancient Gear. Just when it attacks, no effects can be activated, like spell and trap cards. So at least for this one. But if this card's destroyed, basically for any reason, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear Golem from your graveyard, ignoring summoning conditions. So there you get 1 back, and that's why I like to have 2 of these. I might talk this down to 1 though, but with 4,400 attack, it's still really great. I also run 3 of these devils, because I call them devils, because I don't know how to pronounce that very... it even looks like a European name. Howitzer? Yeah, this card. It only takes 2 Ancient Gear monsters, and it's level 8, so great for overlay plays. But the main power of this is, yeah, sure, it deals you 1,000 damage, deals your opponent 1,000 damage. But if it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning condition. So boom, Ancient Gear Golem right on the field for you. You can even choose your Reactor Dragon. I don't really think that it's super necessary to bring out Reactor Dragon. I like getting Ancient Gear Golem out on the field, and then usually that helps with either rank play, or it's there to fusion summon its necessities. And I do run that at 3, some people do run it at 2. I think 3 is just needed for the fusion potential, because it only takes 2. And there's our Norden we talked about with the instant fusion. I have a number 38, obviously the rank 8 plays. This is a really standard awesome card, and you get some spells, perfectly great. I do run one number 23, Dark Knight of the Underworld. This one has a little bit iffy. You can attack your opponent directly, which is really nice, and it can also negate spell and trap cards, even monsters effects, by detaching one Xyz material. So it's really easy for us to go into that. Also, this is great for Xyz matchups that you're going up against. So up to twice per turn during your main phase 1, you can detach one Xyz material from this card. So mostly you want to keep this card in defense position, just so you know. Target one special monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Then if it was an Xyz material, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. So that's pretty great. Zodiacs, obviously, you're dealing like 0 damage, but other Xyz, this is really great. If you want to get rid of a Harbinger yourself, this is the way to go. Then we have the combo of Utopia and Utopia S39, so that's pretty great. The lightning here is obviously really stellar. So that's just kind of our combo piece for the rank 4s. We also have the new heavy armored Train Iron Wolf. This is just for our, when we can bring out it. It's kind of not as easy, but it's great. It also searches for a machine type monster, level 4 from your deck, and grabs it to your hand. So nice little combo piece there as well. And then we have just a Castel, obviously, put a monster face down. It's always super useful, especially right now, as monsters are the lead part of this format. So definitely recommend running one of these if you can in a rank 4 build. It's just a necessity. Then just to finish things off for our side deck, we have that one extra Reactor Dragon. I have another Ancient Gear Catapult Dragon just for the trade-in like mentioned. These two just to help out if I need to add in some more monsters. I do run 2 Ancient Gear Workshops. This is great, just add cards back to your hand. I don't find myself using it too often. I have it mostly in there for very odd situations. If I need some pieces back, like I have to keep going into monsters again and again and again, especially with Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. Having that card get back to your hand and then fusion summon again, big help. We also run 1 Machine Duplication because we do have a lot of machine type monsters with 500 attack or less, and that's really easy to go into some rank plays. So if I need to start going into some rank plays, I might toss this in there. Obviously I do have a few slots in this deck that can be swapped out, so Machine Duplication sometimes sees some plays just for those rank 4 mostly. And that also gives you the ability to get some more cards in your field and to your graveyard for your Ancient Gear Giant. The Foolish Burial I talked about, just for more graveyard. And then I run 2 other Twin Twisters just because the meta kind of wants you to forget about these cards and then kick you in the butt a little later because their back row is too strong. So I run 2 other Twin Twisters, plus there is dead cards in this deck, let's be honest, so this is not too bad to run off of. Fusion Gate, help fusion summoning, and then just some traps, because sometimes you need to stop some summonings and some effects. So Solemn Strike, 3 of them, and then just the 1 Solemn Warning that were allowed. And I think this is a pretty stellar deck profile. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I absolutely love this deck. I thank you very much for watching. I really hope you come back for the next Dino one, my buddy's deck. We've been going toe-to-toe with our 2 respective decks now. I'm not going to tell you who wins most often. It's probably not me. I'm not as experienced as he is. But we have a blast, and this deck is so much fun to use. I highly recommend you give it a try. It's super consistent if you know what you're doing. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to catch you on the next one, and as always, peace.